The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network. Imagine a place where mental health, resilience, sports, and the power to never give up all come together. This show is about life. It's about mental health. It's about bouncing back stronger than ever. This is Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore.
Hey guys, welcome back to Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore. I'm your host, Rob Francois. This is episode number 21. We have a very special guest. But let me
you do.
That way.
Yeah.
Years, and I got to point to my left, to point to my right. Anyway, Amanda Moore, what's going on, Amanda? How are you tonight?
Not much. I'm excited to have Robert on, but first and foremost, I'm used to watching Straight Up 5 so much that I'm waiting for that the Popeyes chicken commercial song that you play every single time before you introduce me, because it's your thing.
I was going to do that from now on. No,
just plays through my head automatically. Anyways, so devoted fan. But I'm really having I had a great weekend. I came off of a tournament win. So
yes, congratulations. I forgot to.
Thank you. I haven't had one for a little bit, so I got that monkey off my back because I've really been struggling with league this year. And I happened to ask on social media today, like, what are league bowlers flustered with or struggling with this year? And I got a lot of answers that I've been feeling myself. So it made me feel good. I'm not alone, but I'm definitely a tournament bowler. I told somebody at the tournament myself, I'm like, there's dollar signs at the end. I'm all for it because you are not making money in leagues. So, right. But I'm going to, hopefully I fixed a few things recently and hopefully that changes a little bit when we go back to league. But other than that, I'm good. I've just been staying busy with some things in reference to this podcast in particular. I have a very soft spot for veterans. My dad fought in the Vietnam War with the U.S. Navy and is buried in the Rock Island Arsenal Cemetery along with his brother. And so when it comes to veterans, it tugs at my heartstrings, and we have some amazing veterans coming up over the next several episodes of this podcast, and they all have different stories and different things they're into. And it's just going to be an incredible couple of weeks sharing some of these stories. So tonight we have Robert Mador, who is from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. He's a husband and a father of 2, and he is the founder of Bridges for the Fallen. So if you want to bring him in, Rob, we'll get the podcast started.
Let's roll. Welcome, Rob Mador, to the show. Thanks for being here, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, Robert, I just want to make sure your last name is Mador, right? I'm not butchering it?
That is correct. You got it.
Okay. I try to be good with my English and grammar, but
not
always professional. So for those who might not know, what is Bridges for the Fallen and how did it all begin?
So Bridges for the Fallen is an organization that memorializes bridges across the country for individuals that died as a result of war.
Okay. So, and we were talking in particular, Bridges for the Fallen. Now it serves Gold Star families in different states. Idaho is not one of those states that has worked with your organization yet, but we're going to do everything we can to try to change that for you and for the organization and the Gold Star family in particular in Idaho, that it was a part of the U.S. Coast Guard. But what quantifies a Gold Star family?
Gold Star family is a family that lost an immediate family member to war or as a result of war.
Okay. So when we talk about Gold Star families, I remember in particular, we were talking about, we have people that come back from service as like we were talking about my father himself, he committed suicide, and we're not sure if it was directly correlated to servicing in the war. But when we're talking about Gold Star families, are those only those that served actively in the armed forces and died as a result of being in active duty, or does it also have to go along with people that come back and they can't handle life or they have severe PTSD and they end up taking their own life?
Well, a lot of times that depends on the state. For instance, in the state that I live in, Massachusetts, if you die of what we're going to call hidden wounds after you're out of service, your family is still considered Gold Star. There are states that is not the case. It really just depends on where you are. I mean, it's certainly we could go deep into the hidden wound subject. I'll just say that I don't think that one person's suffering is more than another's, and sometimes the hidden wounds families, there's a stigma, right, associated with suicide, and people are quick to judge, but the longer I've been doing this, the more times I've run into instances where I'll get a phone call from what we're going to call a traditional Gold Star family, where their loved one was killed in war, say in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever, and they had a dignified transfer at Dover, and they had a military funeral and whatnot. Versus the hidden wounds families that may have gotten a call at 3:00 in the morning saying, "Hey, come identify the body." But the reality is, like, these two individuals that were received at home differently were in the same tank together, and of 3 people that were in a tank, 2 were killed. And one was blown apart, lived at Walter Reed for like 4 years, and then 2 months after getting out of Walter Reed, killed themselves. So only by the grace of God did this guy live and the other ones die, or could have been vice versa.
Yeah.
And I've had this difficult conversation with a lot of different people, saying, I know that I'm not judging anybody's grief, and I'm not saying one death is worse or one death is more honorable. But no one would ever want to have to walk in the shoes of the hidden wounds families, because oftentimes they're shunned. People don't know what to say to them. Oftentimes family members, close family members, neighbors, their friends, they like fall away and disappear, but people are there's just such a huge stigma over it. And it's so unfair to those families. And I'm sure, your mom probably went through this too, like there wasn't anyone that you could really talk to because you were like embarrassed about it. And there was no reason to be embarrassed about it, but there was just a stigma. So as time goes by here, that stigma is going away. People are having the difficult conversation. And it's the only way that there's going to be change.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say too, like back in the day, we didn't have the resources for mental health and PTSD that we have now. There were some resources, but not in the avenues that we have now. And there also wasn't such a community built around people that have served in the armed forces, within the armed forces, that are wanting and willing to help these people when they come back from war. So I know we're still seeing a rise on suicide numbers for people that have served in the armed forces. But I think some of that, like you said, it comes from the shame of wanting to talk to people, or thinking that somebody actually is willing and able to want to help. So I think the more organizations that are out there that bring light and shed light onto that, I think hopefully we'll start to see some numbers in the decline. But I think people are more open and willing to talk about it. So that's another point of me trying to bring more and more veterans onto this show as well, just to bring some clarity to the different types of things that veterans deal with when they come back to civilization after serving multiple deployments or being overseas for years and then coming back here. So and what you're doing to honor, the fallen heroes, what you're doing to help them and the families of their surviving is incredible. I actually took it upon myself to go through the Bridges for the Fallen Facebook page, which you said is the only availability you have right now to follow Bridges for the Fallen. Yes. So Bridges for the Fallen. So I took it upon myself to kind of do some stalking on that page and saw that you have done a tremendous amount of work. And with that being said, you have 1,501 bridges with 1,501 stories. Each bridge has a story. Is that correct?
This is true. Now there's many more attempts than the 1,500.
Okay.
So we've hit stumbling blocks. We've hit lots of situations where, where we are trying to help people to heal, there is a bit of tearing off the scab,
Okay.
And sometimes it's too much for people.
Okay.
And we'll get going and they'll find a bridge and then I don't hear from them for a while.
And is it the family themselves that you don't hear from, or is it from like state and city local officials, or?
It could be both.
Okay.
Sometimes it just becomes too emotional for the family, and they just put the brakes on. And a lot of times they'll circle back in like a year or two and saying, "Hey, we're sorry, we kind of lost touch with you, but a little time helped."
Okay.
And I get that,
Yeah, that's
but sometimes they don't get good responses from whoever it is that they're asking for help. Now, let me just give you a little information on how someone gets a bridge. When you choose, I give people some parameters of bridges and how to choose bridges. But just like a quick skinny on that is there's a couple different kinds of bridges. There's like a busy highway bridge, which I'll call like a loud and proud bridge. Or there's like a off the beaten path kind of bridge where maybe you could pull over and have coffee, or it was like a favorite bridge that someone jumped off or fished off of, or something like that. There's a connection there. So I'll give people some help in trying to find that bridge, but I don't actually find the bridge for them.
Okay.
Basically, what I am their coach and their mentor on this journey that we go on together. And it's a completely confidential journey in which they can stop or start at any time they want. I don't ever put any pressure on them. And as they go, I keep giving them more little tasks to do. And I make it really easy. I try to make it fun. Everything is geared towards a celebration. I'm the first one to tell them, look, your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, whoever, they already had their funeral. And nobody's comfortable with funerals, including myself, but everybody's comfortable with a celebration. And most often, especially with the hidden wounds dedications, people haven't really gotten together to celebrate the life as opposed to mourn the loss. So it's really a great opportunity for people to come together, every imaginable race, religion, gender, people from any walk of life can come together and be part of this, because we don't involve politics. There's no money involved. If you tried to give me money, I wouldn't take it. I tried to make sure that there are no negative factors involved in the process. So, all you really have to do is just follow the little prompts that I'm giving you. Go and find the bridge, and then I'll tell you what to do after that. Whoever owns the bridge, that will determine the process in which we get the bridge. So say you pick a bridge and it's owned by the state of Idaho, that process might be where you contact a state representative. That state representative would help you to co-write legislation. That legislation goes up, becomes a bill, goes through the state Senate, and gets signed into law by a governor.
So I'm just wondering, how do you find these families? Do you have like a list, or do they come to you, or
they come to me?
Okay.
They come to me. I don't ever really reach out to anybody. I let them come to me, unless there have been a couple instances where like someone was 90 and their dad died in like World War II. And, I guess I'll tell you a little story here since I started to go there.
Okay.
All my stories go sideways like 17 miles. But I met these people. A friend of mine's dad died, and I was trying to get him a monument. And I overheard these people talking at the monument place, and it was a lady who was trying to find a gravesite. And the guy who owned the monument place said, "Oh, I bet Rob's been there a million times." So they told me the story, and it ended up being this lady who was 93. Her dad had died in World War II, and she was 3 months pregnant. No, I'm sorry, she was 6 months. Her mother was pregnant with her when her dad died, so she never met her dad. And her sister, who was like 2, had met him, and it was a crazy story because they didn't really know what happened for like years, and then all of a sudden he turned up at a grave in Normandy.
Wow.
So it was like one of those, like, well, after listening to the story, I kind of thought about it for a minute. I'm like, I should really help these people, like, to make sure that this guy's never forgotten, because other than a little marker in Normandy, his family, who was actually from my town, has no idea about this. So, the family filed legislation, just like I was saying. It became a bill, was signed into law by our governor, and the family got a bridge in honor of Joseph Blute. And it was an incredible dedication, because they had their whole family from around the country came.
Yeah.
And it was like this really powerful thing just to see everybody come together to celebrate someone who died a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was awesome. So there is, in my world, there is no person who's more relevant to get a bridge. I've had people say, "Oh, geez, I didn't think you did a bridge for someone who died in Korea. I thought you only did them for people who died in like the war on terror." And I'm like, no, like there is no.
Well, we always say on
the scale,
show. Yeah, we always say on the show, one person's hardship is not any more difficult than another person's. Everybody experiences hardship in a different way. It doesn't make any other person's less than. So that's basically what your organization is saying as well when it comes to bridges for the fallen heroes in our nation. But I'm curious. I asked you before we started. I was under the impression you had served in the armed forces, and that's what steamrolled this whole organization to start. Apparently, you have not served in the armed forces. So I'm just curious as to what inspired you personally to create the organization.
So a friend of mine's son was killed in Afghanistan in 2009, and he and I had spoken about it. I had been to a couple things that they had for his son, and I was definitely very touched. And I really didn't know much about Gold Stars or Gold Star families, and just in chatting with this individual, he really kind of got me up to speed. And then in 2011, there was a Chinook helicopter with 30 individuals, including I think 17 Navy SEALs, that were killed, and one of them was from like 2 towns over from where I am. And I read the newspaper that they were having a memorial service, so I went to the memorial service, and I met his mom, and I met his wife, and I met a bunch of his friends, and just kind of had a quick chat with him at the memorial service. And I was sitting at home the next day, and I was like, oh man, I feel like I should do something, but I just don't know what to do. So I called my friend that had memorialized a bridge for his son. He's like, well, let's get together and let's talk about this. And he told me what the process was, and I was not familiar with any parts of the process, testifying in front of the Senate or any of the things that were required, writing legislation. And we just kind of winged it, We got a hold of our state representative, and this guy was pretty good, and he worked with us, and he called us back and was pretty respectful, and he knew the family. And there was a lot of like uncomfortable things. Like I'm not a big like wearing a suit kind of guy, and I had to like throw on a suit and drive up to Boston to the State House and testify in front of the Senate. That was definitely not in my normal like world. So that was, I mean, it was cool now that I look back at it, but at the time I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of really stressful moments before that first bridge. There was a lot of unknowns. We had no idea how many people were going to attend, and I didn't have near the knowledge that I have now of how to pull off a big bridge dedication. And it ended up being one of the biggest ones we ever had, and it was our first one. We figured there was going to be maybe 100 people there, and there might have been 600 or 700 people there. And I just remember pulling up to the event with my wife, and there was a huge American flag, and there were fire trucks that we had with ladder trucks with American flags hanging. And I can remember pulling into the parking lot of this place and just saying to my wife, "Oh my God, let me just get through this because I have to now do public speaking." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
And the dedication was unbelievable.
That's
It was
amazing.
truly unbelievable. The people that we had, our speakers got up there, and people just poured their hearts out. And it wasn't like a bunch of politicians got up there and spoke. It was like this guy's friends, this guy's family, this guy's teammates. These were all people that knew and loved this guy,
Yeah.
and this guy was a stud, And the first bridge that we did was for Kevin Houston in Barnstable, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. And Kevin Houston was a stud, and he was a badass Navy SEAL, handsome guy, had everything going for him, the most humble guy. And people would ask him what he did, and he would tell them he was like an appliance repairman. He just didn't, he wasn't looking for the praise. He was just the most humble guy. And then everybody around here loved him, So it was just a situation where there's so many people were compelled to want to be part of something, that helped this guy. So a huge amount of community members came. People came from all over the country, including people from different SEAL teams that he had served with and different SEAL teams that he hadn't served with. It was amazing. And so the dedication pretty much went off without a hitch. It was fabulous with flyovers and the whole
That's an
9
awesome
yards.
way to start off your organization, having that being the first one and having it be
I know.
run that smooth and be that big. That's awesome.
It was amazing. And so it was at the end of the dedication, I remember giving my wife a hug and just being like, whew, thank God that's over, because now we can we can go home and celebrate, And this little lady came walking up to me in tears, and she just kind of put her hand out and shook my hand. And she was like, "Hey, I just wanted to know, let you know, that was the most beautiful thing I may have ever seen, and I haven't left my house in 2 years, and I wanted you to know that my son was killed in action, and I just want you to know, I loved what I saw." And I was like, "Oh wow, what do I do?"
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Well, let me get your phone number. Let me talk. Let me get back to you." And maybe 2 minutes later, another Gold Star mom came up to me, and had this similar comments. And she was like, "Oh, my son Mark was a tanker, and you've heard of the story Lone Survivor, and in the story Lone Survivor, they mentioned this tanker division, and that's my son Mark." And she's like, I would really like it if you would help us to do a bridge." And so, all of a sudden, we're doing bridges.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. After my first day, I had 2 or 3, and then I started to do. The Navy SEAL community is very tight, and I started to do a lot of Navy SEAL bridges, all over the place, all over the country. Because once you're kind of a vetted, trusted person, then you get more acceptance into the community. I don't know how to say it, but once I did Kevin's bridge, I was contacted by other SEAL families that Kevin was killed with their kids. So that was interesting too. And the SEAL community is its own eclectic world.
Yeah, for sure. Do you happen to know off the top of your head how many which state has the most bridges for the fallen?
Ooh.
I should say bridge dedications.
I guess, I don't know. Florida's pretty close. Massachusetts has a huge amount. North Carolina has a lot. California has a lot. And New York has a lot. New Jersey has a lot.
So basically, we need to get something going on the West Coast over here, and in the Midwest. We got a lot over here that can be done too. So
I know, and it's difficult for me with Idaho and in your state because I'm just not close by. It's not like I can go knocking on doors or
well,
whatnot.
I was going to extend an olive branch to you. With me being a soft heart for veterans, and I'm really big into suicide awareness projects, and I used to be a part of the Idaho Suicide Coalition. I would really love to try to work with you to get some Gold Star families out on the West Coast geared up with bridges and go about that. That's why I was asking in particular if you have a list you go by, or if people get out by word of mouth. So this podcast episode in particular, I'm really going to try to push towards getting it out, spreading the word to the correct people, and seeing if I can get something done out here to help you out. I'm just curious. So when you do all of these memorials for the Bridges for the Fallen, all those expenses come out of your pocket, or do you have anyone helping you to reimburse for these? All out of your pocket? You're doing it all by yourself?
It's, you know what, it's like when I started Bridges for the Fallen, that was when a lot of bad things were going down with like Wounded Warrior Project, and people were really starting to super scrutinize nonprofits and what they were doing with their money. And, where's the $50 I sent you? What'd that go towards? And, and I really just decided that I wanted to focus my energy on doing what I wanted to. And I already had my own small business, so I already had to have an accounts receivable and collect money and whatnot. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to have to do that. Like, the bridge thing is supposed to be like my release. It's it's what I do for it's my entertainment. It's it's my passion. It's what I love to do, and I don't want to muddy the waters by involving money in it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I pretty much have escaped that whole evil part of it, and I just focus my attention on just helping people.
That's good karma.
It's all I really want to do. And there's been times, where I've done too much, right? Because there's no playbook for doing what I'm doing. Kind of doing it on my own, and unfortunately, I just did too much. And there were years I was doing 50, 60 bridges. There was even last year when you have states that are doing multiple bridges at one time. I think 70 something bridges happened last year. But in the beginning, up until 2014 or so, I was doing a lot of traveling. A lot of weekends I was somewhere else, and I had young kids, and it was I was really torn, because I have this home world and I had a business. But then on the other end of it, I'm able to help people in a way that no one else can. So it's I'm this pharmacist that has this medicine for these people. How do I close up shop when I know that there's more people that need it and that are constantly contacting me, So I've definitely put the brakes on a couple times, and I've been all right, look, I need some time, and some of the stories that you hear are really disturbing. A lot of the hidden wounds stories are really disturbing, and things I had never dreamt of. These people were telling me horrible things, and I was just affected by it, and it really started to bother me. And it really started to almost change who I was. And it sounds weird because it's not my story. It's a story being told to me, but after a certain number of these stories, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
So I had to kind of pump the brakes, and then someone would come along and I'd be like, well, all right, maybe one more bridge. And it just, they just keep leaking in. and then I'll have like a really good one. I'll be like, I'm back, So there's been some tough times, but I'm, no regrets. Definitely no regrets. I'm super, super grateful for just the opportunity to be able to serve the country in this way. I'm able to serve the country on my own schedule. I'm able to turn it off. I'm able to turn it on. And it definitely, there's a measurable impact on the people that I help.
Yeah.
So,
and the stories you've heard too probably definitely help you appreciate your life a little bit more and the blessings that you have and the things that you're hearing. But also it shows that you have an empathetic heart, and you're also a big-hearted spirit, because when you hear, if you hear stories like you've heard and you don't feel something from them, that just means like you don't really have a heart, right? So I think the fact that you're impacted by these people's stories says something about it's a testament to your character and your intentions with the organization. Because if you were just to do these things and hear these people's stories and not have it tug at your heartstrings a little, then you're probably in it for the wrong reasons. So right. I totally understand and can empathize with you on where you're coming from that, because you were talking about earlier, there were the story of the daughters with the father from Norway, and you were talking about that. I didn't get told how my real dad, biological father, committed suicide till I was 18. I didn't get told he committed suicide till I was 18. And so for a lot of years, I had no idea how he really died. Mm-hmm. And then after I learned how he died, I then learned that he didn't die while he was in service. He died when he came back from the service, and this is how he died. And so I started doing research, and then I didn't go and visit his grave until after my sister committed suicide. And she committed suicide in 2019. And that same year, I went back and visited my father's gravesite. And then that's when I learned about his brother as well. So I've only really known about my dad's death for the last 24 years of what happened. And it's just astounding to me to learn the ins and outs of my dad and what kind of person he was, and service member, and about his brother and his family. And then when I hear all these other stories of other servicemen that come back and they suffer from severe PTSD or mental health issues and struggle, and their family doesn't know how to help them or how to cope or anything. I think when you deal with the families that you deal with that have lost somebody after they've come back, and the way that they lose them, that's pretty profound. And I could empathize with those families and saying it's a hard grieving process. You go through grieving and being not understanding and the whys, and you're always going to question. And then you go through, you want to celebrate their life. I'm in the stage finally 20 years later, I'm wanting to celebrate my dad's life through me, and what's characteristics I have of his that are mine. And so now I celebrate his life instead of wondering all the whys, and why did this have to happen, and was it caused by this? And so I'm a proud survivor of losing people to suicide, but also a survivor of having somebody that served our country and knowing that he probably did full and well as best he could while he was there. So I really think what you're doing is making a huge difference and a huge impact. And again, I want to extend an olive branch to you that I will do whatever it takes to help you on this side of my region out here to get something done over here. Because like you said, it is hard for you to do on the East Coast over there. So I'd be more than willing to help you out in any way, shape, or form that you need. I just wanted to ask you too, what do you think people misunderstand about veterans and first responders who struggle after service, based on your knowledge of working with, the families?
I think that people have a hard time understanding what they're going through. And I also I think people have a hard time understanding the symptoms and the signs. And even though like after the fact, they probably seem like they're really obvious, like someone became like reclusive or hiding out or antisocial or quickly to anger, or they're just mood swings or whatnot. It's almost like our country always has a grand plan to get us into war, but they've never had a grand plan to get us out. And,
Agreed.
the grand plan to get people out is a good part of that is mental health. It's physical health, but it's also mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that part has not been so popular. And unfortunately, we're just this 20-year war. I think people were able to look at what happened to the people in Vietnam that came back, and they didn't want that to happen again. The people that came back from Vietnam were heroes on many fronts, but they fought over there, but they also fought when they came back.
Yeah.
They fought so that these guys that over the last 20 years that came back, there was someone here who understood, and there was someone here who was going to stick up for them and not let them float like they did. So, the conversation has been started, and there's lots of different organizations around the country that deal with hidden wounds, with PTSD, and the word's getting out there. Now, I just saw a great documentary the other night about these Navy SEALs, some of them which I know, who are going down to Mexico, and they're doing these treatments with hallucinogenic mushrooms. And what it's doing is it's re-stimulating parts of their brain cells that were dead. And these people are like completely changed when they're getting back. Like their PTSD is like nearly gone.
Yeah.
And
I think Joe Rogan talked about that on.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about it quite often on
like
his
microdosing and whatnot, right?
podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's great to know that there are some things that are going to help people.
Yeah.
It's got it's there's got to be hope, right? So if you're that guy that person that has demons, just knowing that there's something that potentially could like make that go away, it's going to be pretty appealing.
Yeah. Can you share a story or a moment that really affirmed the impact that your organization is having?
Let's see. That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of stories. I guess I'm just going to go right back to the last dedication that we did for a guy named Joseph Bluth that was killed in World War II. What we usually try to do is we try to go into a local high school and we get the kids involved. We'll get a history class involved. We'll teach them about who the fallen hero is. We try to get the community involved. We try to get anybody who knew this person or knows the family involved. And on the actual day of the dedication, to see everybody who comes together, it's an amazingly powerful thing. It really is. It's kind of like taking a snapshot of the Grand Canyon and showing somebody and being like, look how cool this is. Like, it's hard to actually get words around the emotion, but for everybody to be able to come together and celebrate anything, not to mention a hero, I think is a pretty awesome thing, especially in a day where people's visions are like so polarized. People are so like singularly focused on one particular thing. To be able to get people out of that in a community sense, where people are just genuinely helping people care that you're able to heal.
Yeah.
Everybody's hurting, right? So I think like at a dedication, like there's a little bit of healing for everybody there, because there's a lot of good there.
Yeah.
And that bridge isn't just for one fallen hero; it's for anybody that died as a result of war. So it's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah.
So like I love seeing that I love seeing that come together. I love seeing someone sing this, the Star Spangled Banner. I'll pick like a special person. I'll have them come up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, it's just a great patriotic day.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you what comprises Bridges for the Fallen memorial, like what all was included.
Like a dedication.
Yeah, the dedication. Yes.
Well, first I tell the family, I've been to dedications where we've like packed a field house at like University of Nebraska, versus like I've been to a dedication where there was like 15 people. So throughout the whole course of the journey that I go on with the Gold Star family, I give them lots of options, but they're all the choices are theirs, because really this is their last gift to their loved one.
Yeah.
And this one's really going to be felt. So I tell people, like, when you're picking the bridge, make it a good one. This is your last gift to them. Yeah. Make it a good one.
Yeah.
That's powerful. You're like, whoa, yeah. Make that bridge a place. You choose that bridge. You're going to be going there for the rest of your life. This is your positive connection to the person that you lost. Yeah. So really dig deep. Go and visit this bridge a couple times and just say to yourself, oh my God, I'm going to be going to this place for like forever. This is how, they're going to be remembered.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. What types of programs or initiatives does Bridges for the Fallen currently offer? Do you have anything like that?
We really don't. I mean, I really singularly focus on just doing the bridges, just getting the bridges. But each bridge there's a lot to it. Especially when you factor in all the different elements of the dedication. And then I give people a lot of options of things that they can do on dedication day as well. Like a classic Bridges for the Fallen dedication is like you pull up to the bridge and there'll be a sign on either side of the bridge that's covered with like burlap, but that's the future bridge sign, which is going to get unfurled at the end of the dedication. But you see that. You'll see like a fire trucks with a big ladder with a huge American flags hanging. You'll see the Patriot Guard lined up with a Patriot Guard flag line. Which, in my opinion, in my world, is one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Is the dedication of the Patriot Guard, and they have been at every single one of my bridge dedications. That organization, I can't even speak highly enough about. So you'll see the Patriot Guard lined up. You'll see like American Legion riders. A lot of times there's like hundreds of motorcycles that'll come in. Someone's going to sing Amazing Grace. Someone's going to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Someone from TAPS, another unbelievable organization, is going to play TAPS. We'll have 4 or 5 outstanding speakers, and I'll bring people in from, if there isn't someone who knows the person that died, I'll bring in people from like all over that will come in and be able to speak like experts on a certain thing without overlapping the speakers. Each person will have their individual topic. There's just an incredible sense of patriotism at these events. It's just, you're just so proud to be an American when you're at one of these, Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is separate, but every year I go bowl women's nationals. I used to bowl open championships in women's, but before we bowl, they play the Star Spangled Banner. They play something that's patriotic. And when you're standing there looking at the American flag, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are if you don't shed some type of a tear or have your eyes get watery. I get teary-eyed every single time because you're just so proud to be standing in front of the flag that represents our country. Yeah. And it's just a proud feeling to know that you live and breathe and you're in the US of A and you have people that are fighting for your freedom, for your country. And it's an incredible feeling. So I get overwhelmed with that. And then if you want to talk about TAPS and you want to talk about all these other organizations that, they play the music or they do their flag dedications, they do their ceremonies. It's an incredible, powerful thing to watch. And it makes me proud to be a US citizen. So
even funerals though, I've had, my grandfather served in the Navy. didn't die in the war, but when he passed away, they still dedicated a flag to him and did the whole flag folding and gave it to my mom, who was the oldest. So I mean, just even stuff like that gets me emotional. So I can't even imagine
how you feel, Rob.
the spectacle
Robert.
of a
Yeah. I mean, we actually the Gold Star dad that taught me how to do bridges, whose son Nick was killed in Afghanistan. I had him say the Pledge of Allegiance at this last bridge dedication. I love this guy. And he's, I could go on forever, but I had him actually present a flag to the Gold Star daughter. And she said, geez, the last time I was presented a flag, there was only 48 stars on it.
Oh, wow.
That's how long ago.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat and kind of sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Really sad for her. I mean, she never met her dad.
Yeah.
One really interesting thing that happened at this dedication. Now, this family was really super into this dedication, and like I said, they came from all over the country. And one of the nephews really did some super huge digging, and what he found was in World War II, the Pepsi company would send people overseas into war places where we were fighting, and they would do interviews, and they would send that home to the family. And this one of the nephews dug up a recording of this guy that his daughter had never heard, and they played it for the first time at the end of the dedication, and it was basically like, I miss everybody, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be home for Christmas, and thank you for the cards, and I hope Grandma's feeling better, and tell Aunt Sue, I can't wait to come home and see the new puppy, and and he died in 1944, so it was getting towards the end of the war, and he was like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be over much, I should be home before long. I don't think they're going to be able to hold out for much longer, and just let everybody know that I love them, and I can't wait to get home and see the baby, and we actually heard his words, and it was one of the most powerful things I'd ever heard.
That's amazing.
And it was at the end of a really incredible bridge dedication. I was like, wow.
Was he one of the soldiers that stormed the beach and survived? And then
he was a bomber. He was a bomber pilot.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was he? Do you know the story of his death? Was he shot down, or do you know how he was killed in that? Does anybody know?
He was MIA on a flight.
Gotcha.
So they don't know the whole story.
But just the fact that somebody found that recording, that's divine intervention. Honestly, that's.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of the whole bridge thing. When I think about it, is just amazing. I'm just really incredibly grateful to be part of it. It's been an amazing journey, and I really look forward to the bridges that we have coming up.
How many more do you have scheduled? Do you have any more scheduled for 2025 throughout the rest of the year?
There are no more for the rest of this year. We almost just had one, but they were stuck waiting for something to get signed off on. I want to say I know of about a half a dozen that are going to be like January, February, including one that I've been working on down in Florida. So it's hard. Sometimes they come along randomly too, right? So like I'll talk to a family like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'll give them the steps in which they have to do it, and then all of a sudden I'll get like an email saying, hey, we just want to let you know, like, everything passed. And like the dedication's like this coming Saturday. Do you think you can make it? It'd be like 3,000 miles away. Like, I wish I could, but I can't make it to all of them,
Yeah.
And I kind of at this point in time, not I don't know if cherry pick is the right word, but I tend to go to dedications that are either within driving, or they're somewhere like we want to go. So I'm trying to like include my family in on more of these things. Like I used to drag my kids like all over the country to the dedications, but I can't go to all of them as much as I would love to.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's the downside of like not taking donations, right? Because like if I started to take donations, I could be traveling all over the place, and it could be my job, right? But I just went in a totally different direction, and I've never had anybody question what I did with their money, and I've been able to sleep every single night as a result. So, I'll take that as a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. Yeah. I mean, that's because you're right. A lot of stuff went down with Wounded Warrior and other projects, and where did the money go? And honestly, to be under no scrutiny at all, and still be able to do as much good as you do, that's a win-win, for you. So
Yeah.
that was a good idea, not doing that. But I do understand the need for it. But
Right.
I think it's a smart call to not get involved in that, because too many things can go wrong.
And I'm able to operate Bridges for the Fallen on my own schedule, and I do it by myself because I don't have to collaborate with anybody. I don't have like a million other phone calls or what do you think about that or what's going on with this. Like I know what's going on with every single bridge. I don't have to ask anybody, and it's just like, well, it's pretty crappy leadership. Like I could have like 4 or 5 people doing this, but I've never set up like a organization like that before. If someone had come in and given me a blueprint early on, this may be on a much grander scale. Like look at Tunnels to Towers, like we could have been that,
Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy with where we are. I've probably got like 75% batting average, because not all people have gotten their bridges, maybe at some point they will, but some people won't too. I've had some hidden wounds families go and they were just absolutely rejected, and then they were so bitter by the process that they weren't ever really willing to even revisit the subject.
That's unfortunate.
Well, how can people get involved with your organization? By either volunteering? I know you said you don't take donations, or if there's other ways for them to get involved. No?
Yeah, really on a local level at the time of the dedication is when I start looking for people.
Okay.
So if we were doing a bridge in Twin Falls, that's when I reach out to people in your community, and I go over the list of things that I'm going to need for the dedication, whether I'm going to need hotel rooms for Gold Star family members that are coming in, or whether I'm going to need whatever the resources that are going to be needed for that dedication.
Okay. Okay.
But anything that we ever ask for is strictly for the Gold Star family. We never would ask for anything for ourselves. So as part of the original agreement with Bridges for the Fallen is that no member of Bridges for the Fallen can ever be paid or repaid or reimbursed for anything. So you spend it, it's on you. That makes it nice, because when I'm going somewhere and I'm looking for stuff, people are like, oh, look at this guy trying to get a free hotel room or trying to get free flights or whatever it is that they're looking for. Like, I'm looking for this for the Gold Star family, and as a result, everybody's willing to help. I can call any fire department, any sheriff's department, any police department across the country, tell them what I'm doing. And usually within a 30-second phone call, the chief is saying, we will do anything we can to help you.
That's awesome.
perfect.
That is awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is where I need you on this day. You know, like, so like getting volunteers is usually easy. And it's very rewarding for those that are chosen as volunteers too, because they get to participate in something that's incredibly powerful. And there's you know there's a spoonful of healing for everybody involved. The main course is for the Gold Star family, but certainly there's something there for everybody.
Yeah.
Which is great too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's made a tremendous impact on your life, but I'm sure you've made a tremendous impact on lots of other people's lives as well. And I'm sure many of them still stay in contact with you, or
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like they've welcomed me into their families.
Yeah.
So, and that's a neat feeling too.
Yeah.
That's a neat feeling too, that I have a really nice positive connection to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I, it just makes it really neat, like getting Christmas cards from people that we've done bridges for, or, it's just, it means a lot, sometimes a little thing means a lot. And so I really appreciate that. I'm just super grateful for the opportunity, when the whole going way back to the first bridge, like that was kind of a rough, that was a very rough time in my life. I had 2 little kids. I was trying to figure out a lot of stuff, and I was going through a lot of stuff. And, truthfully knowing, like the day of the dedication, like I was just like sitting at home, looking at my wife, like, oh my God, I don't even know if I could do this, and my wife was like, we're going, like, we're doing this,
Get your big boy pants on.
we're going, and I was just kind of like stuck in my own cloud, and so glad that I did it. But what I found is, like, the bridge not only helps the family, but it really helps me, like being part of like something that's helping and healing and positive. Like, as much as you can surround yourself with that, I think it's really important for you. It really shapes who you are. So to be able to have those opportunities and ongoing, I'm like, wow, this is, I am really super, super lucky that I'm able to do this. And the people that I do the bridges for, I empower them to work on behalf of Bridges for the Fallen, because they now are the experts in how to get a bridge in their area. And I'll 100% guarantee you that someone will approach them and say, hey, I heard you got a bridge for your son. How'd you do it? Oh, well, and so now they're another liaison. So every single time we do a bridge, there's at least one person, if not, 3, 4 that have learned the process. So the team gets bigger exponentially, I hear oftentimes that people have done bridges as a result of one of the bridges that we did. And for me, like, that means just as much as the dedication that I went to a couple of weeks ago, right? Because the formula is working. Like, I don't need to be part of the formula, because it's totally not about me.
Right.
It's about people coming together and healing, and being able to celebrate a life and making sure that a hero is not forgotten. And that's super, super important. So, I chalk that up as maybe even a bigger win, because these people that couldn't even do their own bridge for their fallen hero are now helping other people do theirs. And I'm like, there's a couple of rungs up the ladder there in the healing world.
And
a
pay it forward method is what you're doing.
And having done bridges for people, I know what a powerful experience that is. So to watch someone else go through that already has a bridge, they're just as blown away as the day of their bridge dedication. You know, it really hits them in the feels just as hard as when they were the people, you know, when the day was about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I love that, you know, I love that. And this I say to my friend Dave, that's part of Bridges for the Fallen. I'm like, the best part is almost like the ripples off the wave, right? Because like what we see is the main part, but like there's a lot of great stories of how people came and got together and had conversations and and whatnot as a result of the dedications. You know, there's a lot of great little sideshows that we never really hear about that we know are happening. All these little conversations of people that weren't going to get together and conversate because they have different backgrounds or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, Robert, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me tonight and for sharing not only the mission behind Bridges for the Fallen, but the heart and humanity that drives it. So your work is changing lives and honoring legacies and reminding all of us the importance of community and remembrance. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show tonight. I know you're 2 hours ahead of where I'm at, so it's getting late there.
We're good.
But to everyone that is listening or does listen to the podcast afterwards, please take a moment to follow Bridges for the Fallen on Facebook and learn how you can support their mission. They would greatly appreciate it. And whether it's sharing their message, attending events, or simply honoring the names and stories they highlight, it all matters. So, Robert, thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to do my part of what I can to work with some Idaho legislators here and local commissioners and city council and see if we can get something done for your Gold Star family out here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate both of you. And Amanda, you're a rock star and you're strong. And you know what? You know, like really.
Thank you.
You stay strong. You stay strong. You're doing a really good thing.
Appreciate that.
And when you're helping other people, you're helping you too. And you just keep going. Just keep going.
That.
You're
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations on the bowling too.
Oh, thank you.
I suck at bowling.
I hear that a lot from a lot of people, but yeah, it's my thing. So I appreciate the kind words, Robert, and keep doing what you're doing. And I'll definitely keep following your page and helping out wherever I can. So
if I can ever help either one of you, count on me.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, go Pats.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, buddy. Have a great night, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Man, what an awesome guy. Really.
Yeah, that was cool. So I'm glad I had gotten in contact with him to be on the show.
It's great fun.
We have some, I mean, it's crazy to me. I have absolutely no problem thanks, Mike Seabrook.
Thank you, Mike.
I appreciate that. I have absolutely no problem talking to veterans, and I love talking to them and learning about their lives. And I'm friends with so many veterans on Facebook, both male and female. And they all have these unique stories, and the ones that are coming on the show have all chosen to do something as a positive, impactful light with their lives. Yeah. Now, granted, Robert, who we just had on the show, is not a veteran of the armed forces, but he is making a huge, profound difference all over the nation, not just in his home state. So that's something to be said for. Next week, we have Rob Yarnell, and he's married to Kimberly Yarnell. They reside in Tennessee. Rob Yarnell is the director and programs and impact at Robert Irvine Foundation. If you know Robert Irvine, he's a famous chef.
Love that
guy. I mean, he's the one that has the Fit Crunch bars
which are very good, by the way.
They're very good, but I don't necessarily know they're good for you unless you just put in a massive leg workout.
Right.
But Rob's been doing that since February 1st of 2023, I want to say. He was a former Master Gunny Sergeant at United States Marine Corps Training and Educational Command from, I think, 1986 to 2011.
Wow. That's a long time.
He was the conduct readiness assessments for reserve units deploying to Afghanistan and Iraq. He was a critical incident stress management counselor. So he is going to be fascinating to talk to. And when I tell you, we have some amazing guests, like I just thoroughly booked all the way till March. So I guess
I'm not making any plans.
I was sweating last month saying, okay, I've got to get going in December to get the rest of January, February booked, and like, no problem. Back to back, got responses back. I even have people that I was like, I have these dates open. They get back to me. I'm like, sorry, I don't have that date anymore. Now we're off to March.
Can you book for me for Straight Up 5? Because I don't even have a guest for tomorrow night.
You don't have a guest for tomorrow night? You should call Brunsnick.
Actually, it's a good idea. I might
get a hold of him. He said he'd go on your show.
Yeah,
I think
right.
it would be interesting. And I think that their podcast, Perception versus Reality, is on Thursday this week instead of Wednesday. I'm sure he'll love that little plug I just did for him. But yeah. So anyways, I really think what it is for me is there's people I contact and they literally will message you back, say, I don't have a story.
Right.
But it's like, you do have a story because I follow you on social media and you share little glimpses of your story here or there. So I know you have a story. You just haven't told the whole story.
Right.
So that's the thing. That's a fascinating part about social media. We get glimpses and pieces of people's personal lives or their past history of their life or what they're currently going through. We don't really actually know the whole picture of anybody's life. I mean, to be honest with you.
True. We only know what we see.
We only know what we see. We see glimpses. We get a different perception and we have our own perceptions based on that. And yeah, so it's interesting to me when I reach out to people and they say they don't have a story. The more I get to talking to them, I'm like, but you do have a story. So let's go. There's been a few people I'm trying to get on the podcast that would be fantastic guests, but they are camera shy or they're just not very good speakers. So I'm trying to get them past that fear because I always say fear is a liar. I mean, I was fearful of starting this podcast when we started and I didn't know how I would do. And I get nervous every week and then we start and then I'm fine. So just like talking to friends, you know?
Yep. No, fear is a lie and it's of the devil. And
yes. And Satan is well and alive all around us. So whatever fear we have or whatever's going on in life, it's just a scare tactic. It's
very
not
true.
It's not the truth of reality.
Yep.
So yeah, so I'm excited to have Rob on next week. He's going to be, a lot of Robs. Yes, a lot of Robs. We have, that's why earlier I was like, Robert, Rob, Rad Rob.
That's the best name. That's the best.
I don't know who to talk about.
Just saying.
But yeah, I honestly with Robert Mador. Mador, sorry. I told you I was going to butcher his name.
You did.
I am just dumbfounded that Idaho has not taken a part of it or.
Yeah, I'm a little pissed off to hear that. Like
there's some kind of missing link there, and I don't know what it is, but we're going to get that link chained up, and we're going to get
weird,
that fixed.
Idaho's a red state. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, and some states are limited to how many bridges they have available and what their bridges stand for. Like the IB Prime Bridge here stands for something.
Right.
But I mean, come on, we have base jumpers that come here from all over the world to base jump, and so it's already renowned for that. We know it for that. There's dedications to that bridge all around the bridge. So I don't know why we can't have a Gold Star family be a part of that. I'm kind of interested to see how many and where we have Gold Star families located and what comprises Gold Star families in Idaho. So anyways, but
my daughter's here. Do you want to say something?
Oh, cute.
I have a microphone for her. You want to say hi? Hey,
she's being shy.
Hold on. We were talking about you off air, and we had just had a guy on from the Boston area, and I told him that you had a Boston accent. Can you say Walmart for me?
Walmart.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't have a Bostonian accent, but
I don't know how she got it either. She's camera shy too, but she likes to talk.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. I say, all right. How do you pronounce a dog's fur? Pho. She's never been to Boston. I don't understand where it came from. Maybe she was reincarnated from. Maybe she's in the Revolutionary War. I don't know.
Oh,
past memories of her previous life. I have no idea. But,
that's funny.
You want comments? You don't want to get into no? Okay. All right.
Funny. Well, anyways, I did announce earlier we have 184 subscribers. So I'm still trying to work to 200 before the end of the year. If anybody's listening,
3 weeks left. We're in a full court press.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and help a girl out. We're long off from being monetized at this point, but I just want to set a little bit of a goal. I guess every couple months. And that's my goal for the end of the year is 200 subscribers. We started in August, so I think we're doing okay. But yeah, we're booked out clear till episode, I counted today, 34, and we're at 21 right now. So
yeah, that's crazy.
We're doing okay.
21.
But yeah, but anyways, for our listeners, thanks for tuning in tonight live and listening. For anybody that listens afterwards, I appreciate all the support and tuning in and supporting the show and the podcast. It really means a lot to me. And I know who the day one ride or dies are. So I really appreciate them.
Mike
and
Seabrook.
You can find this, Mike Seabrook is on. You can find this podcast. You can restream it immediately following the close up of this live stream. And all the audio will be available on all audio podcast platforms starting on Thursday. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We have a private Facebook group page, which is up to, I think, 381 members now, which is quite a bit. And that, by the way, that private Facebook group page, anyone can post in there. Just please make it about mental health.
Everyone's so quiet. I don't
make it about mental health or positivity or something. Please don't make it about your bowling scores. I've had to delete a couple posts in there that people are promoting their own podcast.
Not a bowling page.
They're promoting their bowling scores. I'm like, that's not, I know I'm a bowler at heart, but this is not what that page is for. It's for mental health purposes. So please post in there and help other people. And you can anonymous post too. You don't have to post as yourself. That's the great thing about social media. And
Nick did, didn't he? Nick posted the scores. It was him, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Nick. He did almost shoot 300 with the new Crown 78U in league. So that was very impressive.
That ball and that gray ball. The new hammer.
Yeah. But anyways, well, it looks like you locked up. So there you are. You're back. Okay. Anyways, we'll be the same crappy time, the same awesome place next Tuesday with Rob Yarnell.
Good night, everybody. We appreciate y'all. Thanks for your support. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye.